This video will show a connector check on a 2019 RadCity Step-Thru, but the steps will look very similar and will be the same on a 2018 RadCity Step-Thru. Overall, the steps for the connector check will be to turn off the battery, discharge residual power, unplug a connector and inspect it, plug it back in, turn on the battery, and check if the issue is resolved when you power on the bike. Once the issue is resolved, you can stop watching the video. First, gather the tools you will need. Flat side cutters to snip any zip ties that may prevent a connector from being unplugged or inspected. A digital camera or camera phone to take photos for product support if you find any signs of moisture, debris, or damage. Flathead screwdriver, and about 7 replacement zip ties. Turn off the bike by pressing and holding the mode button on the LCD display remote at the handlebar. Remove the battery by using the key to push and rotate the key barrel into the off and unlocked position. Remove the key from the battery. Rotate the seat post clamp quick release lever out of the way and carefully lift the battery off the battery tray. Discharge residual power by pressing and holding the mode button on the LCD display remote until the display turns off. It may flash on briefly. Inspect the terminal contacts on the mounting tray and on the battery. If you notice anything out of the ordinary, take photos and contact Rad Power Bike's product support as soon as possible. If everything looks clean and normal, reinstall the battery, ensuring a proper connection. Reposition the seat post clamp quick release lever. Use the key to turn the battery key barrel to the on and locked position and attempt to power on the bike to see if the issue is resolved. If the power will not turn on or there is still an issue, turn off the bike. If needed, use the key to turn off the battery, discharge residual power, then unplug and inspect the other connectors. Take a photo of the cables at the front of the handlebar to refer to when replacing zip ties at the end of the connector check. Starting at the handlebar, trace the cable coming out of the display to the silver metal display connector. Use flat side cutters to snip any zip ties if needed to create enough slack to unplug both sides of the connector. To unplug the display connector, twist each side of the silver metal portion of the connector until the threaded portion releases. Then pull each side directly apart without twisting. Inspect the inside, and if you notice anything like dirt, moisture, or bent pins, take a photo and send it to Rad Power Bike's product support. If each side of the connector looks good, align the internal notch and pins and press directly together without twisting. Then twist only the threaded portions together to fully seat the connection. Use the key to turn the battery to the on and locked position and power on the bike to see if the issue is resolved. If not, repeat the process with each of the following connectors, which pull directly apart with no twisting. Both brake connectors. The throttle connector. The headlight connector. The motor connector located on the chainstay. And the taillight connector on the rear rack. If the issue is still not resolved, continue the connector check on the remaining connectors, which are located at the end of the down tube. From the left, non-drive side of the bike, unplug each of the following connectors by pulling directly apart without twisting. The second taillight connector, the battery connector, and the pedal assist sensor connector. If the issue is still not resolved, continue the connector check on the remaining wiring harness connector located inside of the down tube of the frame. To access the wiring harness connector, first turn the handlebar to the side. Locate the wiring harness cable at the front of the handlebar and gently feed the cable into the upper cable opening of the down tube to provide slack. At the lower cable opening of the down tube, use a flathead screwdriver to carefully unseat the rubber grommet. Use caution to not damage the cable housing or scratch the bike frame. Use caution to avoid unplugging the connector while it is still in the frame, and gently pull the wiring harness cable out of the lower cable opening. Unplug the connector, inspect, and take photos if you notice anything abnormal. If it looks good, align the internal notch and pins and the external arrows and press directly together without twisting to fully seat the connection. Use the battery key to turn the key barrel to the on and locked position and power on the bike to see if the issue is resolved. If the bike requires further troubleshooting, reach out to Rad Power Bike's product support and we will help you get back up and running. After the issue is resolved, double check the wiring harness connection is fully secure and passes through the grommet. Insert the connector back into the frame. Reinstall the grommet at the cable opening. Organize the cables at the front of the handlebar and replace any snipped zip ties. If you took a photo at the start, use it for reference if needed. Ensure the brake cable and motor connector are secured clear of the rear wheel. Use flat side cutters to snip off zip tie excess. Ensure the cut is flush and there are no points that could damage cable housing. Check that all cables are free from any moving parts and that the handlebar can turn freely. Test the bike fully, and as always, contact Rad Power Bike's product support if you have any questions. And remember, ride rad!